Hi, welcome to Speciality Trees. We're doing a series of videos to talk a little bit about us, but a lot about trees. The things that make a great tree are its form, it's fit for purpose, it fits the need for the space, and it has been formally pruned and grown appropriately. And that's about survival within that space. So as much as we can work on the above ground parts and we can prune that and make sure there's no included bark and there's no codominant leaders and all those sorts of things, a lot of it comes down to the root systems. We can fix the tops, but we can't fix the root system. So when looking at a great tree, make sure you look at the roots, because that's where you'll see what work has been done from a horticultural perspective and whether it's been done properly. The above ground should be balanced on both sides of the tree. It should be true to type, and that's critical. So it's great to have some knowledge and around what that tree should look like. Don't be too stressed about if there's a sweep in the tree. The tree will naturally grow that way, and that's what we want. Trees are about nature, it's not about soldiers in a row. So we want trees to look natural, but they also need to be sustainable, and that's about growing and being fit for purpose for the next 50 years. The variety is really important to start with. So getting the right variety in the right place is really key. And then actually having those available is a key part of what we try and do for people. So actually working in partnership with our customers so that we know what you're going to need is really, particularly in the current climate, I think is really necessary. Let us know, let the industry know what you're looking for, and then we can help you achieve what that goal is within your commercial project. But you're really looking for trees, particularly for commercial projects, that are going to be resilient. Trees that have been grown in a resilient way, trees that can be handled and managed easily within the landscape, and trees that are going to establish quickly. And that's about value that's been added within the nursery space. So we do all sorts of things, which we'll touch on as we go through the next few videos, to make sure that those trees are resilient and that they will perform for you. One of the key things that we at Speciality Trees have been working towards and have been for some time is the NIASA accreditation. The nursery industry has an accreditation scheme, and that's about business best practice, and it's called NIASA, Nursery Industry Accreditation Scheme Australia. And that really, it's audited once a year, and so it really gives us a bit of a litmus test about how well we're going. And we get a fresh set of eyes across the business every year. So they come and have a look at it, they walk around, they point out problems. We can talk to people about what those problems are within the nursery space. So, and it's about management of diseases and pests, it's about business practices, it's right down to how we treat our staff, and whether we're accountable for that. And we're very proud to be accredited and have been since 1997, I think. The other accreditation we have is EcoHort, and that's about our environmental accreditation. So how we manage our own site here. And so we look at things like pot waste and root balls and all those sorts of things and what we do with those. But also it's the nutrient loads in the water, all those areas that we really don't think about, how we affect our neighbours and what our footprint is on the space that where we're managing our site, how we're managing our site. All those things are tested and worked through. So if there's water running off the site, we must, under that accreditation, test that once a month. So that means we know exactly whether we're polluting or not. If there's any nutrition, that sort of thing that is in excess in that water, we can actually do something about that. And it's great because we actually see what we're wasting in the potting mix. So we want that to be as low as possible. because the lower that waste is, the more use the tree has got of it. But it also means that we don't want the trees to be too soft either. So there's this balance of process around what we can do, and that's about the trees lasting for the next 50 years. So it all feeds in together and becomes part of the whole program. So the accreditation process is a fairly arduous one, and not a lot of nurseries are accredited, or tree nurseries are accredited. There's a few, and we're really encouraged that they are, and we enjoy that competition, if you like, and that challenge of being as good as we can be, and being tested for that once a year. One of the advantages that you've got as a customer is, if you see that accreditation, you know that those people are being held accountable by somebody. And I think that's a huge advantage if you're looking for people to partner with. Because they're already having to be accountable to others. If nurseries aren't accredited, are they being audited once a year? Are they, what is their weed volume like? What's their pest and disease like? Is somebody actually looking at that and keeping people accountable? I think it's really important to be accredited. I think it's one of the things that really drives us to excellence, and I'd encourage you to look for that accreditation logo when you're looking to partner with people to supply trees. So how's quality measured within the nursery? So we hold ourselves, we've always had quite a high standard. In 2014, well, in fact, if you go back to when it started, it was in the 1980s, they started to put a tree standard together, and that finally happened in 2015. And part of that was about how do we create a standard for trees, and how do we measure that? And that was really put together for the customer to hold the nursery accountable. So in 2015 that was done, and then it was updated in 2018, and so there is a standard, AS2303, and that's about tree stock for landscape use, and it's a fantastic piece of work in that it talks about what the outcome should be. It doesn't talk about how to achieve that, and that's really important, because what we want is a measure of the quality of the tree at the end of the process. How people grow those trees is really up to them. What needs to be measured is the outcome of that, and so how we can, has it got the right caliber? Has it got stem taper? Is it balanced? Are the roots growing outward and downward? All those things are in that accreditation, and that's what it's been built for. Is for the very simple thing for specifiers to say is it must meet AS2303. The interesting thing about AS2303 is that not every tree that we use or grow will fit into it. If you look at Eucalyptus casea, there's no way that is ever going to fit into any accreditation anywhere. It's a recalcitrant tree to grow, difficult thing to grow. So, but that gives us opportunities from an innovation perspective in actually how do we get Eucalyptus casea to meet that standard, and it's a fantastic challenge. And there are other trees as well, Leucoxylons, Eucalyptus leucoxylon rosé. It took us ages to work out how to fit that into the standard, and we're starting to do that. Not always, but most of the time our trees are fitting into the standard now. So those processes around growing those difficult trees and being innovative about that is what is the great challenge of what we're doing at the moment, and that drives that quality outcome. We'll talk about quality in the long term and how that can be affected by all the processes that happen to that tree over its lifetime. What we're trying to do here is to set the tree up for the future. So we might prune it, but we really don't prune it for the customer, we prune it for the tree. The tree is what this is all about. What we want to do is have trees that are going to survive for the next 50 years in the landscape, because that's the critical point if you look at getting the full value from that tree, but it's also the full point about getting the outcomes that we all want, from carbon sequestration through to shade, through the tree and maturity, through to aesthetic value, you name it. It's really that 50, if we can aim for that 50 year as a minimum, That's really critical. So what we do in the nursery is try and look at that long term and how we can actually manage that into that space. So we prune the trees so it has a single leader. It doesn't matter whether we're growing hedges or whether we're growing trees for streetscapes. We prune all of those trees with a single leader. They might be dressed differently, so they might have a different level of branching structure around them, but ultimately they've all got a single stem, included barks taken out, included joints are taken out. There's no codominance in that process. All those things we manage through. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that tree is set up for the future. So horticulture is a science. It's about end-to-end lifetime of a tree or a plant. So we need to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that that tree has every chance of surviving in the process. So we're trying to do that in the nursery. So we spend a lot of time and effort in actually setting that tree up for success. What we're really looking for is to partner with people that want that same success for that tree. I nearly said my child, but that tree in the space once it goes in. So digging a hole, planting, how that tree is planted, the nutrition loads, how well that's watered, mulching, staking, you name it. It all comes down to a horticultural scientific basis. And we all need to be as accountable to that as we possibly can be so that we actually get the success that we need. The success isn't for us there on that day, it is for the future and the process. We're being paid to do a job, we need to do that job to the best of our ability. Better than that, we need to keep on getting better at it and doing better. So make sure those trees survive post-nursery, post-planting. Let's get these streets and parks and landscapes to as high a standard as we possibly can so that people have got the opportunity of enjoying what we're creating.